Danny Haiphong's guest Brian just said some people would rather become liars in politics than admit that they were lied to by a politician. I'm going to go through a couple of corollary images that I find very difficult to accept that people refuse to admit or entertain the significance of. Lee Harvey Oswald's ID was for the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. You can see right there, his identification was for the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. Another ID that was printed for him by somebody who used the alias Alec James Hiddell has the ID darkened over here, leaving the letters HELL. And of course, it's AH, initialed Alec Hiddell is AH. Another thing that I find very troubling is that my Social Security card, for which I was signed up by the Ford brothers, who were part of a gang who tortured me, begins with the numbers 1984. I find it difficult to accept that the Berlin Beer Hall is outside the Magic Mountain and Tacoma Dome for the simple reason that the Hiroshima Dome was the result of a decision not to bomb the Sacred Mountain in Japan. And the Berlin Beer Hall, it signifies the Beer Hall Putsch from 1923, which brought Adolf Hitler into prominence in Germany. I found this in Tacoma Community College Library. Dahlia Dugan and Mark Wagner, 1974, D.D., and Walter Colors. These are very significant if you understand the framework that was developed by the system of people who created the Gail Burston Archive in 1974 with a signifier of DD, man seen. And Wagner, by the way, is the name of a special military from Russia. DD was the sister of Neva Mancine, which is a contraction of Manson's Cinema. It's like a snuff film syndicate. Manson is now known to have been making pornography with the Los Angeles police. This is their symbol. The letters came from Israel. They're using, this is the people who were investigated for release of the AIDS virus. Her sister, Dee Dee's sister, is named Neva. And this is the name of the corporation that uses the symbol, Neva Corporation. And I found that Diamanda Gallas, who was a ringleader pretending to represent the AIDS victims, but actually in on the attack behind the people who did it, working with Gail Burston, was photographed at the World Trade Center holding a stiletto before they brought the World Trade Center down. We have a film where a man blinks, that's so bright light. Another man on the phone says, also Pittsburgh, which is where I was taken. Superfly ends with Ron Priest and a needle, a high rise of it looks like a needle that looks like injecting people, and almost like a crown on a chessboard. What you're seeing in these semiotics is not imaginary. It's a statement. It's a symbolic statement, which has crept over our planet like a chessboard for genocidal purposes. I warned people over and over again that Gail Burston was a homophone, gay ill Carolyn Burston for Christian Armageddonism, and that the AIDS attackers had demonstrated that Israel Zionists were seeking through their magical thinking and martial um, barbarianism revenge for Auschwitz. I said this to the police as long ago as 1993. I told them, man to man, I have found a script indicating the Pittsburgh Zionists were behind the AIDS attack and seeking revenge for Auschwitz. And they lined up sandbagger after sandbagger after sandbagger to go, wah, wah, we don't believe that. We're Yoko Ono feminists and we think you're a crybaby when you get rejected. Wah, wah. And they made this like a smoke screen for what they were calling in Seattle building momentum for the killdozers that now have created a concentration camp for extermination in Gaza. That's very serious. And you see these people who, like George Galloway, who usually cry for Gaza, smiling about how Jill Stein got away with this. They have a Jill in the script giving me a nerve agent for a Zionist psychiatrist from Attica State Prison. And these are the constituents, these are the block behind King Crimson and Pink Floyd. And when you actually look at the way that they scripted this whole thing out, it's clear that these people who represent the entertainment system were in on the attack. And they masquerade as, no, we understand the victims. The writings by the perpetrators talk about sympathetic vibrations and soothing noises. And they're all too happy to push someone else up and say, go get it and identify with them. Have a seance. They're all too happy to do that. There were a couple of suicide bombers. Sean Strub was outside the Dakota. Michael Foucault went to meet with the Ayatollah. And then they Bushnelled themselves. And Gaza has been pigeon-headed about it too. They said they can't. They're siding with their own killers when they side with Sin War. It seems to me, because Sin War is the name of the game with Gail Burstyn. It's a synonym in the nom de guerre system. And you can't not get anybody to say anything sensible about something like this. Oswald ID being stamped for the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. You can't get anyone sensible. Not one single person has stepped forward and admitted that this is unbelievable, evidence of unbelievable guile from show business. And there's so many interconnecting factors with regard to her. She had a namesake in my life who called me on the birthday of Gail Burstyn to claim John Lennon had got it when he pulled a Houdini from the basis of all of the evidence he was in on all of this, because these are all his friends supporting the people who wrote the script who they say killed him. And they say it's all because of Jimmy Crank. He was crying over a virgin. Well, Two Virgins was the name of the war game that they put on. I could show you that too. But what's the point? You can't get a single person with the dignity, courage, or common sense to admit that this is suspicious. You can't get a single person with the dignity, courage, or common sense to identify the problem.